I think, obviously losing is always frustrating. So I think the guys feel it. The staff obviously feels it as well. Sometimes it's a simple game. You go up, you create chances to go up more than one. We missed quite a few of those chances, and they're 100% chances, right? And at the end of the day, I told the guys, if you don't score in soccer, you'll get scored on. That's just like the old age story, right? And so I think we got to be cleaner in those moments. We created a ton in that first half, even in the beginning of the second. And then, you let a team kind of stay in the game for as long as we did. And the one thing that I was, a little bit more disappointed with in terms of, more so than the missing of the chances, because that tends to happen from time to time, is I thought we were passive defensively. There were moments where their players, who are good one-on-one players, had time and space on the ball. In certain areas of the field, that's okay, but you can't allow teams to have time and space on the ball close to your goal. And the first goal, we're a little bit passive. Second goal, we're a little bit passive. 2 shots from far away, and that's kind of been the only goals that we've given up from since I've been here have been shots from outside the box, I think. So we got to do a better job in those areas to realize that you got to go block the player. You got to make them feel uncomfortable. I told those guys, even at 40 years old, if nobody's going to come press me, I can still play the game. So any player on that field is going to feel really confident with the ball if there's not somebody stepping. So we have to be more determined to close space, to be able to make people feel uncomfortable with the ball, and that'll in turn make them make worse decisions and more mistakes rather than obviously what they did. And it wasn't just the goals, it's the 15-20 minutes that led to the goals were moments in the midfield, moments higher up on the field, that we just weren't right with the pressing, weren't right with the closing down space, and they kind of got more and more confident, and we struggled in that area of the field. So I think those led to the goals, and then obviously when you're down 2-1, the game's completely different than it was in the first half. So I thought we battled well at the end of the game, got close a couple chances, but obviously disappointing to be up 1-0 and concede twice. There's no doubt about it that there's tons of positives from this game that you continue to work on, right? It's like I said, progress is not a straight line, and there's still building blocks, foundational pieces that you're kind of putting together. You kind of compare this game versus Detroit. It's 2 very different teams, right? Mm-hmm. Detroit played very low defensively with 2 very compact lines, where Phoenix doesn't do that. Phoenix is aggressive in their pressing. They leave space all over the place, right? They want to try and turn the ball over. If you're good with the ball, if you can break their lines vertically, you're going to have chances. And I think that's what we saw today, a little bit closer to what we saw maybe with Monterey Bay, but even to a higher level, because it's high risk, high reward the way Phoenix wants to play. They want to try and turn you over, and they want to try and create chances with those transitional moments and with their one-on-one very skillful players. But if you're clean on the ball and you're able to break those lines, you're going to get those chances. And I thought that's what we did really well. There was tons of space in behind their back line a couple of times where our wing backs were getting up the field. And it's just a matter of being able to put the ball in the back of the net. But the chances, I think, is going to be a massive positive for us to understand this is one way that we can be dangerous against teams that are willing to kind of press higher up the field and spread their lines a little bit more. I think Danny's kind of like an 8 or an 8.5 a little bit. He can play as a 6 as well at times, but in our system, I thought he might complement Panos a little bit more than Wolfie, because Wolfie's left-footed with Julian. We didn't see as much of a connection there on the left side, and what we saw with Panos and Maury on the right side, we'd like to try and complement that on the left. And I thought he did a good job in the last game. He has, he's not as much of like a driver of the ball as Panos is, but he has the ability to complete a pass. He has the ability to find that kind of final ball, or the ball that leads to the final ball. He's got an engine on him as well. So a lot of things that I thought he did well today, right? I think in the first half, some sloppy moments, and that was kind of everybody at times, where the ball would like run through people's legs, or not a clean trap or whatever. And I thought Danny was one of those guys as well, because or else you could have seen him even have a better game. But all in all, I thought he was, in good spots. He connected the game well, whether it was with Peter, with our sixes, or with Julian, and with Panos himself. So yeah, I think he just gives us a little bit of a different idea there than if we were to play either a Wolfie, which is a little bit more north and south, a Sinistera that complements a little bit more with Peter. But I thought he did a pretty good job. Like I said, we created a lot of chances in before they even got their first goal, where Danny was at the heart of a lot of those things. Been exceptional since I've gotten here, and even before, right? He scored the goal at the AV Alta game before I was here, and so he is high energy all the time. I think he helps the whole team kind of have that high energy as well. As it's infectious. He's got the knack to get at the end of a cross coming from the left side like he did. He has the knack of getting higher up the field to provide the final ball, which he provided quite a few today, right? I told him he probably should have had a couple assists. And he's tenacious defensively, right? He works his tail off. So he's been great, and my expectation is that he just continues to do what he's been doing. I think it's something that's vital for the way that we play, that our wingbacks are able to kind of produce in the way that he has and have the energy that he kind of has for 90 plus. I think the mentality is, for me, right, and hopefully this is how I'm translating it to the team, is that it's less about the standings and the points and more about, are we getting better? Are we going in the right direction, right? You are not going to win you are not going to win every game in a league that is as closely competed as the USL Championship. There's no Barcelonas, there's no Real Madrids, and then there's no team that's going to lose every single game. And so every game is going to be highly competitive. And so I don't want to, at the end of a game, I'm not going to say, oh, everything was terrible because we lost, and just like I wouldn't say everything is great because we won last week, right? So I do think that it's kind of, okay, what are the things we desperately need to improve on? What are the things that we desperately need to continue to re-emphasize as positives? I do think kind of, to your first question, I think that there were a lot of good things that we saw today. And then even if you go back to last week, there's a lot of things that weren't necessarily great, right? There's things that we did better today that we didn't do last week, and there's things that we did better last week that we didn't do today.
Yeah.
And so how do we marry all the good stuff together and get rid of the bad stuff? So
exactly.
Of course, disappointment is part of the game, right? You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, and you're going to be disappointed. To me, it's the message that I sent the guys is, how quickly are we on to the next? How quickly can we change our focus from, yes, the disappointment of losing, which is always going to happen, and the euphoria of winning, to how do we come in on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and get ready for Loudoun on the weekend. So I think it's a big test for the guys, but I think they'll be ready for it. And again, I do think that there's still a lot of steps in the right direction today.